Good afternoon, everyone. I'm especially happy to be here today. It's my third time at this conference. It's been a significant conference that's made a landmark effect on the industry, and extremely excited to share this moment with you all. I was actually one of the most lucky people in this industry. I was relatively late to read the white paper in 2013, and as a non-technologist, I had to find a way to get myself in the industry. Started by blogging, and got very fortunate to have over the last 5 years worked with leading entrepreneurs, beginning in 2014 in the early days of Kraken in Silicon Valley. From there, I spent 2014 till 2017 working with Starshue at OKCoin, where we built a lot of businesses like OKCoin, OKLink, OKX. The past year, I've had an even greater fortune of working with leading entrepreneurs, Jeremy Allaire and Sean Neville, to expand Circle's OTC business into Asia and truly make 24-hour operations. In these experiences, I've learned things about exchanges, remittances, OTC trading, institutional investors, and the like. And so I think I have a unique perspective to bridge not only the technology, but also the differences across borders and how we look at this technology. And while there's a lot of fraud, a lot of speculation, I've always used the same mental model to guide me through my 5 years so far in this industry. Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz famously coined the term, software is eating the world. And while I am nowhere near their ranks, I believe blockchain will eat the economy. So I want to take you through some of the evolution over the last 5 years. The industry hasn't just grown a lot, it's also changed a lot, and I'm sure it will change even more. I remember in the early days of our industry, and some people still believe this today, people see that the real world economy is a massive, huge GDP thing. And then the crypto economy is something to the side. People fail to comprehend what is this going to do in our day-to-day lives. And so this approach that most people used as a mental model in the early days led to some interesting decisions. For example, in 2015, they would look at the total market cap of crypto as a very small thing. And I used to work in traditional finance, and my colleagues would say, well, maybe this technology might be useful for, might do an ETF that might make the price go up from 300 to 500. This was really the chatter in 2015. People wanted to make private blockchains, and people still do. And these might be powerful technologies in some case, but I think if you look at what was missed during those years, we missed the innovations that were bigger improvements to what we can do on-chain, like Ethereum, like scaling, smart contracts. And so my mental model puts crypto at the heart, at the center of the real economy. That's not just for a love of crypto or blockchain technology, but I think it's because we can prove that it is, what happens on-chain is much more efficient than what happens in the pre-blockchain. Because on-chain transactions are truly global. We talk about global economy, but this is truly global, open, permissionless, and trustless. That comes with a lot of things to deal with, from regulations to compliance, etc. But the fact of the matter is, the small amount of activity, and it's grown very much so in the last few years, is much more efficient, more powerful, and this leaves a lot of room for imagination for a better economy. Our old economy is very much, we talk about globalization as the 90s and 2000s. But really the old economy is disparate countries using better and better technologies to kind of patch their economies together. We think about cross-border remittance, technology trying to solve that. Cross-border trade, cross-border commerce, all these things. But what they miss is that they're not natively global. Blockchain is natively global. That's just a fact that we have to come to accept. And so there's recently a lot of news about the financialization of blockchain as sort of the retail phase is over, time for institutionals to step in, and we do see a lot of interest there. But I think we must not miss the true reason why this technology is so powerful and what Satoshi and others really wanted to see in this world. So when you look at these recent financialization, for example, a few days ago I saw Citibank think about launching DARs, digital asset receipts, similar to how they've done a great job doing ADRs for example, Chinese stocks as a receipt exposure for investors. However, I think while ETFs are great for gold and maybe for stocks, things that don't have real utility in the world, we can improve the tech stack of on-chain applications such that everyone in the world, retail institutions, will want to access the blockchain directly. And so this is what I want to talk about. The crypto world is growing. It will grow fast. We have to be very patient and have a long-term view. And one of the achievements that we can think about is that I remember in 2014-15, people wanted to create a closed sort of private blockchain where they would run dollars through. And if you don't believe that that was the case, you can look back at the fact that the highest raised funding company back in the year 2015-16 was R3 for a private blockchain. Much more than Coinbase, in fact. But for now, you look at the news coming out, it's not just USDT. You look at Gemini, you look at IBM, Circle. Everyone is now thinking of ways to put the dollar not on a private blockchain, but on the public blockchain. And so we're seeing an acceptance by the global community that on-chain activity is where the action needs to happen. And we're at the early stages of a migration to on-chain use cases. So over the last 2 days, we've heard from numerous technologists, and what they're really working on is ensuring that that inner circle is able to support the activity of everyone in this room, in Africa, everywhere else. And so those are all public blockchain scalabilities. And eventually, I think, even crypto exchanges will for sure become decentralized. And that will lead to great efficiencies with atomic swaps and the like. And so I would argue that the two worlds are going to remain existing for a long time. Even today, as great as Amazon is, plenty of people shop offline. As much as we enjoy using Alipay, there's lots of people who use Western Union to get cash. So the two worlds need to have a better way of interacting with each other. And it takes our industry to come together to solve these solutions. So when you accept that crypto has applications beyond just speculation, then the on-ramps and off-ramps to this world cannot be just limited to entering exchanges for speculation. And the rare user then remigrating themselves into wallets and such. And so we need a way to structure a license-compliant on-ramps to transition from the off-chain to the on-chain economy. That I think would be a big boost to also support all the on-chain activities going on and innovations today. And so my experience comes from building these rails, and I think we need to look to a better future. So in the past, you can imagine that most people thought this was a speculative asset class. If you think when people describe crypto as a new blockchain, as a new asset class, it sounds powerful, sounds interesting, but it's also very limiting. I remember myself sitting as a trader on Wall Street, looking at a Bloomberg terminal with 6 screens. And you would see some FX, you would see some commodities, some stocks, some bonds. Okay, sure. If you think about an asset class, then you might have a page of crypto assets or blockchain assets. But it has the power to do so much more. And so in the past, you go from fiat to then a fiat exchange. And I remember back in those days, you would think, well, who would want to do natively crypto to crypto exchanging? I mean, the combined market cap of the two, all the different tokens was a measly couple of $1 billion. So I've captured all the US dollar market share, or I've captured all the CNY market share. That's pretty good, right? We can maybe go expand in Europe, but other than that, there's not really many more currencies to do. And so the thinking has advanced greatly. In the past year or two, you've seen now people adopt new kind of token-to-token blockchain asset platforms. But this leads to an extremely poor user experience for people who are trying to access this world in a compliant manner and exit. And so I think in the future, what we're going to get to is a direct kind of relationship between using the blockchain in your everyday lives and not using it, and kind of bypassing a couple steps in this process. In general, I just want to know that what are we building? Are we just building something for short-term kind of interest, or is it something long-term? And I think this technology allows us, if we focus together, to build something exceptionally great. Every technology requires great entrepreneurs to take it to the extremes of the imagination. So I want to hope everyone can join me in daring to imagine a blockchain economy. Thank you very much.